The crisp night air of December 20th, 1968, settled over a secluded lover's lane in Vallejo, California, a quiet haven where young hearts sought solace and connection. David Faraday, a bright 17-year-old, and Betty Lou Jensen, his sweet 16-year-old date, found themselves nestled within this seemingly innocent landscape. Their first date, filled with youthful excitement and nascent romance, was abruptly and brutally cut short. In a horrifying instant, their lives were extinguished, not by accident, but by a chilling act of violence that would forever scar the idyllic Northern California scenery. This sudden, inexplicable tragedy marked the terrifying genesis of one of America's most enduring and perplexing mysteries: the reign of the Zodiac Killer. The late 1960s in California were a tumultuous tapestry of social upheaval, vibrant counterculture, and the pervasive ethos of peace and love. Yet beneath this seemingly harmonious facade, a dark, malevolent current was beginning to stir, poised to unleash an unprecedented wave of fear. The sun-drenched valleys and rolling hills of Northern California, often associated with dreams and freedom, were about to be stained by a terror that would grip the nation for decades. The remote stretch of Lake Herman Road became the grim stage for the first confirmed attack. David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen had pulled off the main road, seeking the privacy afforded by the isolated location. Suddenly, a car pulled up behind them, its headlights piercing the darkness. What followed was a swift, unprovoked assault. The assailant, his motives shrouded in shadow, forced the teenagers out of their vehicle. David, attempting to protect Betty Lou, was shot first, a single fatal bullet to the head. Betty Lou, terrified, turned and fled, but her escape was tragically brief. She was shot 5 times in the back, her young life extinguished just yards from the car. The brutality was shocking, the efficiency terrifying. Local law enforcement, bewildered by the senselessness of the crime, found themselves with no immediate leads, no discernible motive, and no suspect. The scene was a stark, chilling tableau of nascent evil. Weeks bled into months after the initial murders. An unsettling silence descended upon the community, a heavy blanket woven from fear and unanswered questions. There was no suspect apprehended, no motive articulated, just a gnawing unease that spread through Vallejo and beyond. The killer, a phantom in the night, seemed to have vanished as swiftly as he had appeared, leaving behind only grief and a growing sense of dread. The air was thick with unspoken fears, each passing day deepening the mystery and magnifying the fear that this might not be an isolated incident. The absence of any new developments only amplified the chilling prospect that the perpetrator remained at large, a silent menace lurking in the shadows. Then the unsettling silence was shattered. The breakthrough came not in the form of an arrest or a new piece of evidence at a crime scene, but through a chilling, anonymous phone call. A disembodied voice, cold and deliberate, reached out to the Vallejo Police Department, claiming responsibility for the brutal murders of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. The caller's tone was not one of remorse, but of sinister pride, a taunt delivered directly to those tasked with upholding justice. The message was clear, terrifyingly explicit, and left no room for misinterpretation. This was not an isolated act, and the horror was far from over. A promise of more violence, more terror, hung heavy in the air, a dark prophecy whispered into the night. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The dark prophecy materialized on July 4th, 1969, just 6 months after the Lake Herman Road tragedy. Another secluded lover's lane, this time at Blue Rock Springs in Vallejo, became the next stage for the killer's macabre performance. Darlene Ferran, a vibrant 22-year-old, and her companion, Michael Mageau, 19, were enjoying the evening in Ferran's car when a vehicle pulled up beside them. The driver, without warning, illuminated them with a spotlight, blinding them before exiting his car. With chilling precision, he fired a 9mm pistol into their vehicle, striking Ferran multiple times and critically wounding Mageau. The brutal efficiency of the crime, the remote setting, and the sudden, unprovoked nature of the attack echoed the horrifying events of the previous December, sending a cold shiver through the nascent investigation. Mageau, miraculously, survived the harrowing ordeal, providing law enforcement with the very first physical description of the assailant. A stocky white male about 26-30 years old. This glimmer of an eyewitness account offered a fleeting hope in the deepening shadows. Just weeks after the Blue Rock Springs assault, a new, far more sinister element entered the unfolding drama. 3 distinct letters, each bearing the same cryptic tone and chilling content, arrived simultaneously at the offices of 3 prominent Bay Area newspapers: the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. It was a calculated move, designed to maximize public impact and instill widespread fear. These weren't mere threats. They were declarations of war from an unseen enemy. Within each letter lay a portion of a complex 408-symbol cipher. The sender, who now brazenly called himself Zodiac, made an audacious demand. Publish these letters and the accompanying cipher on the front page, or he would cruise around all weekend killing lone people in the night, and then move on to kill again until I have killed at least a dozen people. The message was clear, unambiguous, and terrifying. The Zodiac was no longer a silent menace. He was a communicator, a showman, orchestrating a terrifying narrative in the public eye. The media frenzy that ensued was immediate and overwhelming. The public, already gripped by a growing unease, was now plunged into a state of acute fear and morbid fascination. The killer was no longer just a murderer. He was a taunter, a master manipulator of public perception. His chilling letters, reproduced in bold headlines, became a macabre dialogue between a serial killer and an entire region, holding thousands hostage to his terrifying whims. The very act of communication became an extension of his violence, a psychological weapon wielded with devastating effect. Law enforcement, desperate for any lead, turned to cryptographers and code breakers, but the initial cipher proved stubbornly resistant. Then, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Donald Hardin, a local high school teacher, and his wife, Betty Hardin, working tirelessly in their home, successfully cracked the 408-symbol cipher. The message they painstakingly deciphered was disturbing, a chilling glimpse into the mind of a killer driven by a perverse desire for power and control. It spoke of collecting slaves for the afterlife, of a twisted superiority, but offered no clues to the killer's identity, only his disturbing motivations. This partial solution, while profound, only deepened the mystery of who Zodiac truly was. The cracking of the first cipher did not appease the killer. It seemed to embolden him. His letters continued, each one more menacing than the last, escalating his threats and further solidifying his terrifying persona. He reveled in the chaos he created, promising more deaths, more slaves for the afterlife, and mocking the police's inability to stop him. The Zodiac was not just seeking victims. He was seeking an audience, and the Bay Area, gripped by fear, was now captive to his horrifying narrative. The escalating threats, delivered with such cold precision, left no doubt that the killer was far from finished. The Zodiac's reign of terror reached a new terrifying pinnacle on September 27, 1969, at Lake Berryessa. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, a young couple enjoying a peaceful afternoon picnic by the tranquil lake, suddenly found their idyllic escape transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror. A man, cloaked in a bizarre executioner-style hooded costume, emerged from the tree line. The hood featured eye holes and a disturbing crosshairs symbol emblazoned on the chest, a chilling emblem that would soon become synonymous with terror. He approached the unsuspecting pair, his movements deliberate, his presence radiating an unnerving menace. What began as a seemingly surreal encounter quickly escalated into a brutal stabbing attack, a nightmare unfolding under the clear California sky. With a cold, calculating precision, the assailant bound Hartnell and Shepard with pre-cut clothesline. He then savagely stabbed them both multiple times before vanishing back into the dense foliage. This act of unspeakable cruelty bore the undeniable mark of the Zodiac. Before his retreat, the killer paused to carve his distinctive crosshair symbol into the door of Hartnell's Carmen Gia, a grotesque signature left for law enforcement to discover. Moments later, the Napa Police Department received a chilling phone call. A calm, dispassionate voice confessed to the heinous crime at Lake Berryessa, providing precise details that left no doubt as to the caller's identity. The Zodiac was not merely committing murders. He was orchestrating a terrifying public performance, demanding recognition for his atrocities. Cecilia Shepard, critically wounded, succumbed to her injuries 2 days later, her life tragically cut short by the killer's savage brutality. Brian Hartnell, against all odds, miraculously survived the horrific ordeal. His harrowing account of the encounter provided investigators with invaluable, albeit terrifying, details about the killer's appearance and methodical nature. His survival offered a glimmer of hope, a witness who had stared into the eyes of pure evil and lived to tell the tale. The Lake Berryessa attack, with its theatrical costume and calculated brutality, cemented the Zodiac's image as a meticulous and psychologically disturbed predator. Just 2 weeks later, on October 11, 1969, the Zodiac shattered his established pattern of attacking couples in secluded areas. This time, his violence struck in the heart of urban San Francisco. Cab driver Paul Stine, a 42-year-old father, was shot and killed in his taxi in the upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood. The shift from isolated lovers' lanes to a busy city street sent a ripple of heightened fear through the already terrified populace. It demonstrated the killer's audacious confidence and his ability to adapt, making him even more unpredictable and terrifying. Several children playing nearby witnessed parts of Stine's murder. They described seeing a man near the taxi, cleaning something from the vehicle's interior before casually walking away. Their descriptions, though blurry and from a distance, contributed to a composite sketch that would become one of the most recognized, yet ultimately elusive, faces in criminal history. The eyewitness accounts, despite their limitations, offered a rare, direct glimpse of the killer in action, further fueling the public's desperate desire for his capture. The Zodiac, ever the showman, ensured that his connection to Stine's murder was undeniable. He mailed a piece of Paul Stine's blood-stained shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle, a gruesome trophy sent as a macabre proof of his involvement. Along with this horrifying evidence came another letter, escalating his threats to an even more terrifying level. In it, he threatened to bomb a school bus, adding a new dimension of terror to his already horrific campaign. The chilling prospect of children becoming his next victims plunged Northern California into a state of unprecedented dread. The Zodiac was not just a killer. He was a psychological terrorist, holding an entire region hostage with his terrifying communications and escalating violence. The terror deepened, a palpable fear that permeated every aspect of daily life. The Zodiac, seemingly invigorated by the fear he had wrought, continued his macabre correspondence with the press. In November 1969, he dispatched a new, far more intricate cipher to the San Francisco Chronicle. This one, known as the 340-character cipher, represented a significant leap in complexity from its 408-symbol predecessor. Unlike the first, which was quickly solved by the Hardens, this new cryptic puzzle proved stubbornly resistant to every attempt at decryption. Its dense arrangement of symbols, mathematical notations, and obscure characters baffled professional cryptographers and amateur enthusiasts alike, remaining an impenetrable barrier for decades. The killer clearly delighted in this intellectual challenge, using it as another means to taunt law enforcement and assert his perceived superiority. Throughout 1970, the Zodiac continued his chilling campaign of psychological warfare through a series of letters. These missives were a disturbing blend of arrogance, threats, and cryptic pronouncements. He claimed more victims, often without providing verifiable details, further sowing seeds of paranoia and distrust. His communications often included veiled threats against public figures or infrastructure, hinting at bombs and other catastrophic attacks, keeping the Bay Area on edge. Each letter was meticulously crafted, designed not just to communicate, but to amplify fear and frustration among the authorities and the public. He reveled in the chaos, seemingly enjoying the widespread panic his words ignited. Among these communications was another short cipher, accompanied by a brazen claim that it contained his name. This "My name is" cipher, like its 340-character counterpart, also defied all attempts at solution. The killer understood the human desire for identity, for a name to attach to the terror, and he deliberately withheld it, using it as yet another weapon in his arsenal of psychological torment. This deliberate obfuscation of his identity, coupled with his escalating taunts, transformed him from a mere murderer into an almost mythical figure, a phantom lurking in the shadows of Northern California. The sheer scale and baffling complexity of the Zodiac case, combined with the often conflicting jurisdictions of local police departments, eventually necessitated the involvement of federal agencies. The FBI, with its vast resources and forensic expertise, was brought in to assist in the hunt for the elusive killer. Their involvement brought a new level of coordination and scientific analysis to the investigation, but even the combined might of federal and local law enforcement struggled to make headway against an adversary who seemed to vanish without a trace after each horrific act. The Zodiac had become a national threat, a chilling symbol of an unknown evil. Through his meticulously crafted letters and ciphers, the Zodiac Killer actively shaped his own terrifying persona. He was not merely a murderer. He was an intelligent, manipulative individual who reveled in his ability to outwit the authorities. His communications painted a picture of a man who saw himself as a godlike figure, collecting slaves for the afterlife, mocking the police, and playing a deadly game with the entire population of Northern California. He enjoyed the media attention, the fear he generated, and the frustration he inflicted upon those trying to catch him. His evolving persona, crafted through his own words, made him an even more terrifying and compelling figure in the public imagination. Each new letter, each unsolved cipher, brought more terror but no closer to the killer's true identity. The public, gripped by a pervasive sense of dread, began to wonder if the Zodiac would ever be caught. The unanswered questions mounted, creating an enduring enigma that would plague law enforcement and haunt the collective consciousness for decades to come. The Zodiac had effectively created a terrifying narrative, one where he was always in control, always one step ahead, leaving behind a trail of fear and unanswered questions that would echo through history. The relentless pursuit of the Zodiac Killer, fueled by the FBI's involvement and the widespread terror, eventually led investigators down countless avenues, each promising a breakthrough yet often ending in frustration. Among the myriad individuals scrutinized, one name consistently surfaced, becoming synonymous with the elusive killer in the public's mind: Arthur Leigh Allen. A former schoolteacher, his profile, bizarre behavior, and unsettling interests aligned uncannily with various aspects of the Zodiac's known characteristics, propelling him to the forefront as the prime suspect. The evidence against Allen, while compelling, remained frustratingly circumstantial. He owned a Zodiac brand watch, for instance, and allegedly confessed to friends about his desire to kill people and use a pseudonym like Zodiac. He had a history of violent behavior, including child molestation, and was known to possess weapons, including firearms of the same caliber used in some of the Zodiac attacks. Furthermore, Allen lived in Vallejo, a central location for many of the Zodiac's crimes, and had worked as a teacher, a detail that resonated with the killer's threat to bomb a school bus. Witnesses from the Lake Berryessa attack, Brian Hartnell, and others who had seen the killer, often described a man with a similar build and appearance to Allen. There were even allegations that he had spoken about the most dangerous game, long before the Zodiac used similar phrasing in his letters. Yet, despite these numerous connections, definitive forensic links remained elusive. Fingerprints taken from Allen never matched those found at crime scenes or on the Zodiac letters. Crucially, DNA evidence, a modern forensic marvel that would revolutionize criminal investigations decades later, was not available at the time, leaving a critical gap in the direct physical evidence needed to conclusively tie Allen to the crimes. Beyond Arthur Leigh Allen, the investigation cast a wide net, ensnaring numerous other individuals who, for various reasons, fell under suspicion. These suspects ranged from disgruntled military personnel to reclusive eccentrics, each with their own set of circumstantial connections or bizarre behaviors that caught the attention of law enforcement. Some were investigated based on handwriting analysis, others due to their proximity to crime scenes or their disturbing fascination with the case. The sheer volume of potential leads, combined with the Zodiac's deliberate obfuscation and taunting, made the task of sifting through claims and evidence an overwhelming challenge for the under-resourced police departments. The breadth of these investigations underscored the profound difficulty in identifying a killer who left behind cryptic clues but stubbornly refused to leave behind his true identity. Following a flurry of communications in the early 1970s, the Zodiac's letters largely ceased after 1974. The active investigation, which had consumed countless hours and resources, slowly dwindled, moving from an active, urgent hunt to a cold case. The public, while still fearful, began to breathe a collective sigh of relief as the immediate threat seemed to recede. However, the case was never truly closed. Periodically, new leads would emerge, new theories would be proposed, and the embers of the investigation would flicker back to life, only to cool once more as definitive answers remained out of reach. The Zodiac Killer's silence became as unsettling as his previous threats, leaving an open wound in the collective psyche of Northern California. Decades passed, marked by an enduring mystery that refused to fade. The victims' families were left with an agonizing void, their grief compounded by the lack of resolution and the haunting specter of an unpunished killer. Law enforcement agencies, despite the passage of time and the retirement of original investigators, maintained open files, a silent testament to their unwavering commitment. But with each passing year, the trail grew colder, witnesses aged and crucial memories dimmed, making the pursuit of justice an ever more arduous task. The Zodiac Killer case transcended its origins as a series of brutal murders, evolving into a cultural touchstone. It became a chilling symbol of unsolved American mystery, feeding into countless books, films, and documentaries. Its enigmatic nature, the killer's taunting letters, and the frustrating lack of a definitive answer, embedded it deeply into the fabric of popular culture, ensuring that the legacy of fear and fascination would endure far beyond the killer's active period. The power of this unresolved crime captivated not just law enforcement, but an entire nation, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of true crime. The enduring mystery of the Zodiac Killer left an indelible mark on the lives of those directly affected, a wound that time could not fully heal. For the families of David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stine, the passage of decades brought little solace. Their quest for justice remained unfulfilled, overshadowed by the persistent absence of answers. Each anniversary of the brutal attack served as a stark reminder of their profound loss and the chilling reality that a remorseless killer had walked free, his identity shrouded in secrecy. The emotional toll was immeasurable, a silent burden carried through generations. In the intervening years, modern forensic science underwent revolutionary advancements. DNA technology, once the realm of science fiction, emerged as a powerful tool, breathing new life into countless cold cases. Investigators meticulously re-examined evidence, often extracting crucial genetic material from decades-old crime scenes. Yet for the Zodiac case, the application of these cutting-edge techniques proved incredibly challenging. The limited forensic evidence collected at the time, coupled with the killer's deliberate precautions, meant that definitive DNA profiles were agonizingly scarce or too degraded to yield a conclusive match. The Zodiac, it seemed, had been ahead of his time, leaving a forensic void that even the most sophisticated modern methods struggled to bridge. As the traditional avenues of investigation faced these limitations, a new force emerged in the pursuit of justice: the online detective community. Fueled by an insatiable curiosity and a shared desire for resolution, thousands of citizen investigators congregated on forums and social media platforms. They meticulously dissected every letter, every cipher, every police report, scrutinizing details that seasoned professionals might have overlooked. These online sleuths, armed with collective intelligence and boundless dedication, tirelessly analyzed theories, cross-referenced timelines, and debated suspects, hoping that somewhere within the vast digital archives, the missing piece of the Zodiac puzzle lay hidden. Their unwavering commitment transformed the cold case into a perpetually active intellectual challenge. The Zodiac Killer's story continues to captivate the public imagination, transcending generations and evolving into a modern myth. The allure of the unknown, the chilling intelligence displayed by the killer in his taunts, and the fundamental human desire for answers all contribute to this enduring fascination. The narrative of a criminal mastermind who outwitted the authorities, leaving behind a trail of cryptic clues, resonates deeply, tapping into primal fears and our collective need for order in a chaotic world. His story serves as a stark reminder that some dark figures can slip through the grasp of justice, forever haunting the fringes of our history. A significant breakthrough, decades in the making, occurred in 2020 with the long-awaited cracking of the 340-character cipher. A team of codebreakers, working independently, finally deciphered the complex message that had baffled experts for over 50 years. The decoded text, while disturbing in its content, filled with the killer's usual boasts and philosophical musings about collecting slaves for paradise, still offered no definitive identity. It confirmed the Zodiac's twisted worldview but yielded no name, no address, no tangible lead that could finally unmask him. The cipher's solution, while a triumph of cryptography, was a bittersweet victory for those seeking closure, underscoring the killer's meticulous design to remain anonymous. The Zodiac Killer remains a spectral figure, a ghost lurking in the annals of California's history. His legacy is one of profound terror, an enduring symbol of a mystery that stubbornly refuses to be solved. He left behind a trail of broken lives, traumatized communities, and a chilling collection of taunts that have echoed through time. The unanswered questions continue to gnaw at the collective consciousness, a testament to the power of an unresolved crime, and the chilling reality that some malevolent forces can simply vanish into the shadows, leaving behind only fear and an insatiable longing for truth. What do you believe happened to the Zodiac Killer? Share your theories in the comments below.